Om to all of you. So today we'll be continuing on with chapter 15 from verse number 11. So let us take a recap what we have covered so far. In this chapter, which is entitled Purushottama Yoga, Purusha Uttama, there is two words there. Purusha is any ordinary being. You and I also are Purushas. But only the Supreme Lord can be called Purusha Uttama, the Supreme Being. So this chapter is what we call instructions on how to attain that Supreme Being, how to merge with that Supreme Being. So that's why it's called Purushottama Yoga. Yoga means union with that Supreme Consciousness. So here in this chapter, the Lord explained that this whole creation, including all the 14 what we call planes of existence, we went through all that. There are 6 planes of heaven. There is the earthly plane where we are now Bhuloka, and below Bhuloka there are 7 planes which are known as the planes of hell. So all these 14 levels of existence are all subject to change. That is the nature of the world. Since we are also part of these 14 planes, we are also subject to constant change. We take birth, we exist, we decay, and we pass away. And then what happens? Does it end there? We come back again for another cycle of birth and deaths. But the Lord said, beyond that perishable world, there is the imperishable consciousness known as Purushottama, known as Brahman, known as Atman. You can give it different names. But what it means is that it is imperishable. So therefore, we have to decide whether we want to be caught in this cycle of birth and deaths, going and coming and going and coming, or do we want to merge with that imperishable consciousness? So for those people who are interested to get out of this cycle of birth and death, in verses number 3, 4, and 5 of chapter 15, Lord Krishna gave us 4 sadhanas. What are the 4 sadhanas to practice? We've gone through all that. So you can refer to your notes, okay? The 4 sadhanas. If we put these 4 sadhanas into practice, we will definitely attain that highest goal. And where is that mentioned? If we see verse number 5, the last line of the Sanskrit text, Gachyant amudha padam avyayam tat. The amudha, the muda means a deluded person, a confused person, an uneducated person, or rather one who doesn't have the right knowledge. Such a person is called a muda. So in Sanskrit, when we put the in front of that, it becomes a muda, which means what? An intelligent person, a person who is focused on the spiritual path, who has acquired the right knowledge, who identifies with the higher self. I am the supreme consciousness. I am not this perishable body. This person, what does Krishna say? If you go through the 4 types of sadhana, you practice that diligently, Gachanti, you will definitely attain Padam. Padam means that goal. What is that goal that you will attain? Avyayam. Avyayam means the imperishable goal. Meaning what? Meaning you will get out of the cycle of birth and deaths and you will merge with that imperishable consciousness, the higher consciousness. Now, what is that goal? Since he has talked about this goal, what is that goal? In verse number 6, using allegorical explanations, he explains about that goal. And what does he say? What is that highest goal? Where the sun doesn't shine, where the moon doesn't shine, where, even the fire also cannot shine there. And God says, Tat Dhamma Parama Mama. That is Mama, my Dhamma, that is my abode, that is my home, which is Paramam, which is the most highest. You cannot go higher than that. So, what is that highest goal? Where the sun doesn't shine, where the moon doesn't shine, where the fire doesn't shine. Meaning what? We have discussed this. Not meaning that it is a very dark, cold, and damp place, but meaning God's nature is the very nature of effulgence. It's so bright that nothing else is able to match to that effulgence. So it's very allegorical. We must not take a literal meaning of these verses. That means God is consciousness, is a ball of effulgence. But very interestingly, I did also tell you all that since God identifies Dhamma, my home, and he doesn't have a physical home, we must not think that God is existing somewhere up there in the heavens. No. Dhamma here means, home here means, you become the very nature of God. You become the very nature of that supreme consciousness. What is the nature of the supreme consciousness? The Upanishads say, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That means by going through the study of the scriptures, by understanding my real nature as I am the atma, the consciousness, I identify with this Sat, Chit, Ananda. So there is an Upanishad that says, Brahmavid Brahmeva Bhavati. Brahma Vid. Vid means the knower. Knower what? Brahma. The one who knows Brahma. Meaning the one who identifies with Brahma. Eva. Verily. Bhavati becomes what? Brahmavid Brahmeva Bhavati. Verily becomes Brahma. The one who identifies with the nature of Brahma, the one who says, I am that Satchit Ananda, verily becomes Brahma. So, what is Lord's abode? Lord's abode is to identify ourselves as the very nature of the Supreme Consciousness, which is Satchit Ananda. So, that is the goal. Now, not everybody is interested in this goal. Some people say, I really don't want all this to achieve their highest goal. No problem. Then what is the next option available? In verses 7, 8, and 9, Krishna says, then you have a choice to go on revolving again and again and again. So here he identifies us as jivas. And jivas, I told you, is what is the jiva? The traveling soul or the reflected consciousness. So just like the sun there is only one sun, but if you put 100 mirrors on the ground, you will see 100 reflected suns. So God is only one, but because of this body and mind equipment, that one sun or one consciousness reflects in us, and he reflects in millions and millions of creations. This is called a traveling soul. At the time of death, what does the jiva do? He has to pack up certain things. He has to move to a new body. So what does he do with the old body? The old body is cremated, it is burnt, it is gone. But what does the jiva do? He packs the subtle body, which is the mind and the intellect. He packs the causal body, which is your vasanas and your karmas, and he takes this along with him to the new body. And when he occupies the new body, he unpacks the subtle body and the causal body into the new gross body. Everything is clear? Anything confusing? Right? So this is what is called a traveling soul, the jiva, which travels from one body to another body. So it takes all the past impressions and deposits it in the new body. So that's why you find that sometimes a young child can be very spiritual, can be very religious. Another child can even play the piano at the age of 6 or 7. They seem to have acquired something from the past birth. Okay, that is all coming in from the past birth. But the thing is, as long as we have karmas to settle, we will carry on in this cycle of birth and death. Then you may say, what is wrong? I don't want that supreme consciousness. Why should I merge with God? I am happy. I die, I come back, I die, I come back. So what's the problem? What's the problem? Why should I want to merge with the supreme consciousness? Next week, I'm not coming for any more Gita classes. Why? Because I want to come back. I don't want to go and merge with the Supreme Consciousness. I love my car. I love my house. I love my dog. I love everything. I want to come back again. But what's the problem? No guarantee that you will come back as a human being. To attain this human birth has taken us several lifetimes of sacrifices, of what we call change in our lifestyle. And if we live just like an animal, what does the animal do? 5 basic functions. It eats, he sleeps, he works, he, what you call, eats, drinks, sleeps, reproduces, and one more. Eats, sleeps, drinks, works, and reproduces. Okay? Then why, if a human being does the same 5 functions, you don't deserve a human body in the next birth. And you will go down to a different birth and you have to work yourself way up again. So we have to be very careful. We have to understand that it's not guaranteed that we will take the human birth every time. Okay? So now the question is, coming back to verse 10, which we stopped at last week, he said that how does a person, therefore, one who gets caught in this cycle of birth and deaths, that is one type of person whom he called as the deluded person. The deluded person here, he says, what happens to the deluded person? He does not perceive the soul departing from or dwelling in the body, enjoying the objects of senses united with the gunas. Now, what it simply means is that this person does not understand that there is a soul in every body. And as long as the karmas are not settled, the soul will depart and take another life. So this person is not at all interested at all in spirituality, not at all interested in religion. He does not perceive the highest truth. Whereas those who who possess the eye of knowledge. What is the eye of knowledge? Jnana chakshu. Jnana means knowledge. Eye means, chakshu means eye of knowledge. What is the eye of knowledge? What is the eye of knowledge? Eye of knowledge is one who has gone through the study of the scriptures, who has understood the truth in the scriptures, and who lives his life according to the scriptures. Such a person will then merge with that supreme consciousness. So here is the key for us to break out of the cycle of birth and death. What is the key now? You can understand from this verse. What is the most important practice you need to break out of the cycle of birth and death? Knowledge. Ultimately, you have to come to this knowledge. The rest of actions that we do, prayers, rituals, going to temples, fasting, singing bhajans, doing charity, all these prepare us for the path of knowledge. Ultimately, you have to come to knowledge and then attain moksha. So very clearly it is mentioned in this verse. So up to that we covered. Now in verse number 11, the Lord will summarize this path of knowledge. So once again, he breaks up the 2 types of individuals. So look at the Sanskrit text in verse number 11. The first line, the word yogina is mentioned there. Who is a yogina? The yogina is one who is striving to unite with the Lord. That is a yogi. Yogi here does not mean one who wears orange clothes and sits in the forest and meditates. All of us can be considered yogis. Depends on our mental attitude. So if our mind is tuned to the higher, we are also yogis because we want to unite with that supreme consciousness. So what does he say about this yogina? Yogina, so the second type of person is identified in the 3rd line of the Sanskrit text as akritatmanaha. Akritatmanaha means the ignorant person, the one who doesn't put any effort in the spiritual path. So there are 2 people which Krishna is comparing here. So let us look first at the yogina. What does the yogina do? The yogis are the ones who are endowed with this jnana chakshu, which was mentioned in the previous verse. The previous verse 10, So this is a yogi who's endowed with wisdom, with knowledge. What does he do? Yatantas, he is very diligent. He's constantly striving. So our spiritual practice must not be on a part-time basis. If you are going to take spirituality as a hobby, as a part-time basis, you are not going to succeed. That's why he puts there, yatantas, you must be diligent. You must be constantly striving. You must make dedicated efforts to follow a life of discipline. Follow the path of karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, which have all been explained in this Bhagavad Gita. Okay, and Adi Shankaracharya, in fact, summarizes these practices on the spiritual path. He calls it sadhana chatustayam. Sadhana means our efforts on the spiritual path. Chatustaya means fourfold. There are fourfold categories of sadhana which we must follow if we are interested to merge with that supreme consciousness. What is that? Number one is vairagya. We must practice dispassion. What is vairagya? Vairagya is not just giving up all your possessions. That is not vairagya. Vairagya means not being overly dependent on your possessions for your peace of mind, for your happiness. So not giving undue importance to your objects of the world, to pursuing material objects, sensual, to giving in to material and sensual enjoyments. We must cut down our dependence on that. It is okay to have it, but don't be overly dependent on it. Vairagya. Second is viveka. Viveka means discrimination. We must constantly engage in the study of the scriptures, because we must keep this mind, this intellect constantly active to question what is the goal, what is the purpose of human life. Have we just been sent here to live, eat, drink, and be merry? Or is there a higher purpose for human life? So that is viveka. Third, he calls as shadka sampati. Shadka sampati means disciplines. Shadka means 6 types of disciplines we must implement in our lives. What are they? Damaha, very important. Damaha means mastery of your senses. You must be always in full control of your senses. Because when we are not in control of our senses, they tend to wander. When the senses wander, what happens? WNDR, when the senses wander and you don't control them, what happens? What is the biggest danger? Huh? Before actions, if your senses wander, what is the biggest danger? Yours. Correct. So what happens is, when the senses wander, they pull your attention and your mind away. Right? Just like you're sitting here now. I don't know whether you're hearing me or not. Because why? Suddenly your nose has picked up some smell of some food being cooked behind. Then what happens to your mind now? Huh? It goes there. It is no more here. It is there somewhere. And then you think about food. You're thinking about kitchen, where to go for dinner, here, there. Now you're totally lost somewhere else. So that's why Dhamma, mastery of the senses, is a very important sadhana which is consistently advised in the Bhagavad Gita and in every Upanishad also. Dhammaha. Second is called Samaha, S-A-M-A, which is mastery of the mind. So it is not only important to control the senses, it is also important to control the mind. How do we control the mind? By various prayers, rituals, worship of the Lord, chanting of mantras. So you see the word mantra. What does it contain? Man. Man is what? Mind. What does antara mean? Mantra. Already mind is there. It already tells you your chanting of your mantra has got to do something with your mind. So what does antara mean therefore? That which subdues the mind. That which brings your mind under your control. That means anytime your mind is wandering, what you should do? Chant your mantra. Whichever whichever deity you are following, Lord Shiva or Hanuman or Ganesha, whichever, you chant your mantra. So you slowly pull your mind back to where you want to focus it to. So there are many ways to control the mind. That is called samaha. Third is shraddha. Shraddha means having faith. What should we have faith in? You should have faith in God. You should have faith in the Guru. You should have faith in the scriptures. And you should have faith in yourself. So it's very important to cultivate and maintain this faith. Next is another important thing. Doesn't mean that while we are controlling the senses, the mind, having faith in the Lord, the next quality is uparama. Uparama means performance of all your duties. Don't give up your duties. Don't run away from your duties. Whatever roles you play in life, carry on with all your duties diligently. So what did Arjuna want to do? Arjuna was what was he? A warrior, a Kshatriya. But what did he want to do? Run away from his duties and do what? Become a sannyas. But you say, what's wrong? Nothing wrong. Arjuna, it's a fantastic thing. I also want to take sannyas. So what's the problem with Arjuna running away from the battlefield to take sannyas? Is there anything wrong? So his reason for taking sannyas is what? To run away from his duties. Whereas the reason for us to take sannyas should be what? That it is a noble thing that I want to pursue it. I have value for it. I want to pursue that. Not because I want to run away. You know, you have argument with your boss, then you say what? I want to take sannyas. Tomorrow I go to forest. Boss giving problem, I go and take sannyas. Does it make sense? No. Because you run away to forest, take sannyas, then what happens? After a few days, you are unhappy again. Your mind, you have not controlled your mind yet. So sannyas is not a joke just to take up sannyas like that. So uparama. Samadhana. Samadhana means single pointed concentration, meaning not losing sight of your main purpose, your main goal in life. You can have many secondary goals. I want to open a new business. I want to go to Switzerland for holiday, no problem. But never ever lose sight of your main goal, and that is to be one with the Lord, to merge with His consciousness. That is samadhana. Then the last, sixth quality is called titiksha. Titiksha means as you will find many challenges on the spiritual path, you must learn to tolerate, you must learn to go through this and not give up. So titiksha means you must have that inner strength to go through all the various challenges in life. And the fourth part of the sadhana chatushtayam is known as mumukshutva, which means you must have a desire for liberation. You must have a desire to pursue that goal, the highest goal. So what happens to these people who are the yoginas, who are constantly, diligently striving? The Lord says here in verse number 11, the ultimate result is de pashyanti. So the word pashyanti again means see. But you cannot see because Lord is formless. Brahman is formless. So what here the word pashyanti means, they experience. They come to connect with that higher consciousness. They put in effort until they ultimately experience that divinity, that what we call that, what I just mentioned just now, the three qualities of the Lord. What it was? Satchit Ananda. So you come to experience the state of Satchit Ananda. So they realize the self. Enam here means the self, the Atman. Where do they realize the self? Avashtitam. It is reflected in. Where is this consciousness, this state of Satchit Ananda? Where do you experience this? Atmani, in the heart. Now very careful here again. The word Atmani here, in the heart, does not mean the physical heart. It means the intellect. It means your buddhi, because you can only experience this consciousness which is the most closest to your buddhi. In chapter 3, Lord Krishna said, The senses are said to be great because they bring us the full experience of the world. If your senses are not working, you will not be able to experience the world. But he said, higher than the senses is what? What is higher? The mind, the manas. Higher than the mind is the intellect. What is higher than the intellect? The self or the consciousness. So the consciousness is the most closest to the intellect. So ultimately you will feel the state of Satchit Ananda in the intellect. In fact, in the Katha Upanishad also the same thing is mentioned. It says that this consciousness which is within you is very subtle. So it says it's so subtle that he says that this consciousness is the size of your thumb. So small, it's the size of your thumb. Now, it doesn't mean actually that the consciousness is the size of your thumb. But yet, what is the Katha Upanishad trying to tell us? It says the Purusha is the size of the thumb, is always seated in the heart of all living creatures. Same wording is used. So what is he trying to tell us when he says that this consciousness is the size of your thumb? What is he trying to tell us? So don't really take it literally that the consciousness residing in your body is the size of your thumb. What he's trying to tell us is that it is so subtle, that your senses cannot experience this Atman, this consciousness. It is beyond your sense perception. And anything that is beyond your sense perception, even your mind cannot comprehend what it is, isn't it? Because if your eyes see an object, your mind can analyze it and I can explain it to somebody. But Brahman or consciousness has got no sound, no shape, no size, no color, no taste, no touch. So how can your mind even conceive it? Therefore, the only thing that can understand it is your intellect. It is so subtle that you really need to analyze, need to think about it. There was a beautiful verse here earlier in chapter 2. If you go back to chapter 2, what is that verse? Okay, look at verse 29, page 38, chapter 2, verse 29, page 38. See, many people, we know Atman, we talk about Atman, we go to spiritual talks, we hear about Atman. But after years and years of hearing about Atman, what does Krishna say here? One beholds the self as a marvel. You think that is something very special, something out there. Actually, who is this Atman? Who is this Atman that you are hearing about? The great sages and saints are telling you about this Atman. Who is this Atman? Yourself, isn't it? They are telling you about your real self. But look at that. He says, one beholds the self as a marvel. He thinks it's something very special, something very unique. Another speaks of it as a marvel. We just talk about it, but we don't really understand it. Another hears of it as a marvel. Yet another, having heard, knows it not. We still cannot understand. After years and years and years, we still don't understand that the Atman is nothing but our real truth, our real identity. That is who we are. So now, actually, in these two verses, okay, so now he talks about the other person. First, he told us about the, what we call, the yogina. Okay, now he talks about the other person who is the akritat manaha. Okay, you see in the third line of the Sanskrit text, the word there, akritat manaha. Manaha again means mind. So akritat manaha means one who has got a unpurified mind. What do we mean by unpurified mind? How do you define an unpurified mind? What is an unpurified mind? No. What is an unpurified mind? Things so has ego, anger, jealousy, greed, pride. All the impurities are in this mind. So we are talking about a different type of person now, who is akritamanaha. And not only he's got so many impurities in his mind, second word to describe him is achetasaha. In the fourth line, you see the word achetasaha, which means devoid of discrimination. So both are there now. One is his mind is not purified. He's got so much of impurities in the mind. Second is he doesn't even have any knowledge. He's not interested in the spiritual or devoid of spiritual knowledge. So two qualities are there, very important now. He's saying one is your mind is not purified. One is your knowledge is not refined. What happens to this person? This person na pashanti. He does not see. He, again, the word see here means what? Does not come to, he will never come to experience what? Enam, this one. This one meaning what? The consciousness, the atman. Okay. Even though yatanta, even though he's striving, he still will not be able to perceive. Why? The earlier person was striving, but he can perceive the consciousness. This person, he says, has got impurities in his mind. He's got lack of knowledge. Even though he's striving, he will never experience the self. Why is that? Because mind is constantly occupied by so many desires. So many desires are there that even though he tries to put effort on a spiritual part, he won't succeed. So there are too many obstacles on such a person's life. So now these two verses, you can break down and analyze that actually there are three types of people here that Krishna has been speaking about. What are the three people? One is they are not at all interested in seeking the truth. They couldn't be bothered about spirituality. They are not interested. They don't believe in all this hocus pocus and all this. They are totally not interested. What is going to happen to these people? They are only interested in pursuing material and sensual objects in their life. So these people will keep on rotating in the cycle of birth and deaths. That is one type of person. Second type of person is interested. He has some, what we call, some faith in God and all that, but doesn't put in enough effort. Why? Because too many distractions in the life, too many desires, too many worldly desires. So although he has faith, although he does go to temple, he does pray, but because of his desires, they cause a barrier to his spiritual growth. And the third type of person is the one who is devoid of desires, who aims for the highest truth in life. Only such a person will succeed. Okay. So these three types of people have been already identified. So now, starting from verse number 12, the Lord will now talk about his presence. Where is he? Okay, we want to merge with this Lord, with this God, but where is he? So in verses 12, 13, 14, and 15, very interesting verses, the Lord will try to explain to us and describe to us where is he in this whole creation. So again, a lot of allegory is used here. So let us look at all these prominent examples. Now, in verse 12 first, he starts with the most furthest away from us. And then slowly, every verse, he'll come closer and closer and closer. So first of all, he says, where does he reside? Where is his vibhutis? Where are his glories? So he says, Tejaha, the radiance which is Aditya Gatam. Here the sun is identified with the word Aditya. It's another name for sun, right? So Aditya Gatam, the radiance which is in the sun, number one. Number two, and that radiance which is in Chandramasi. Chandram here means, Chandra means here the moon. So the radiance which is in the sun, that brilliance which is also in the moon, and which is in the Agnav, which is in the various fires which are lit. That same brilliance. Lord says, Bhasayate Akhilam. This radiance in the sun and the moon and the fire, it radiates or illumines Akhilam Jagat, the entire world. Now, if you look at sun and moon again, what is the difference? What does this tell you? Lord says, I am in the sun. I am the radiance in the sun. I am also the radiance in the moon. So what these two aspects alone tell you about Lord's presence? Again, try to read in between the lines. What does it tell you? The Lord says this radiance in the sun, radiance in the moon, radiance in the fire, he says, with thee, may you know that that radiance is what? Mamakam. It is my brilliance. It is my radiance. So the sun does not have the radiance unless the Lord blesses it. The moon does not have radiance unless the Lord blesses it. Fire doesn't have radiance until the Lord blesses it. So what is he trying to tell us here? He is present all the time. In the daytime, the sun is there, the Lord's radiance is there. So as a devotee, we always ask, where is God? Now what is your answer here? Your answer is given to you now. Now, will you ever ask, where is God? Because the minute you step out from your house in the morning time, where is God? He's the brilliance in the sun. He is there. But we don't understand this. We are looking for some God to come with 4 arms, holding conch, holding bow and arrow. Lord is saying, I am that brilliance there. I'm there with you all the time. But you must open up your mind and realize it. And in the night, when the brilliance of the sun is not there, what is there? The illumination of the moon is there. So it's there in the daytime, it's there in the nighttime also. And any fire that is burning, its brilliance also is there. So now you can understand why in our culture, there is the old ancient tradition where we worship the sun 3 times a day. That is called what? Sandhya Vandanam. So in the morning, that's why they say sleep early in the night. Because why? Why should you sleep early in the night? Because you should be there to greet the sun when it rises in the morning. So the first worship starts when the sun rises in the morning. The second worship is when the sun is at its peak during the daytime. And the third worship is when the sun is on the, what do you call that? The setting sun in the evening. So that is the Sandhya Vandanam. What are we worshipping? We are not only worshipping the sun actually, we are worshipping the glory of that consciousness which is illumining the sun. And then what about the moon? When do we worship the moon? The full moon, what is that called? Purnima, right? Purnima also, we worship that brilliance in the moon also. And the new moon is Amavasya, which we also worship also. And what about fire? What do we use fire for? You. What do you use fire for? Light the lamps. Also, we offer our oblations into the fire also. And you all know why we also use fire to do the arti. How many of you know why we use fire to do arti? Why not use water? Why not use sand? Why do we use fire particularly? You realize when the creation of the world started, what is the very first element that came into existence? What is the very first element? There were 5 elements. So the most subtle element came in first, ether. Then from ether came air. And then from air came fire. So fire, now ether is not visible. Air also is not visible. So the first element that was manifested or visible is fire in creation. Therefore, fire represents the manifestation of that supreme being. Because after fire comes, what you call water, and then after water comes earth, the most grossest. So that's why we use fire to do the arti also. So the Lord is saying, He's not saying, I am the sun, I am the moon, I am the fire. What is He saying? I am the effulgence in the sun, I am the effulgence in the moon, I am the effulgence in the fire. So now you might say, this is very far away, I cannot understand. So Lord says, actually, I'm more closer to you than you think. I'm not so far away. I'm there also, but I'm more closer. Where are you, Lord? So now he comes to verse number 13 also. Okay. So in verse number 13, he says, Avishya, by my power, I enter. Avishya means enter what? Gam. Avishya Gam. Gam means the earth. So the Lord says, I bless the soil, the earth. And how do I bless it? Ojasa, through my power of effulgence. I bless the soil on this earth. And what do I do also? Dharayami, I sustain or I nourish bhutani, all the things. So now what Lord is saying, because of his power of blessing the soil, what is the soil capable of doing? When we plant something, you can plant, it flourishes with a fruit or a flower or a vegetable or grains also. So the power of the soil to give us all this nourishment is actually the power of the Lord himself. So not only is he far away, but he's also blessing the very soil that we stand on, the very soil that supports all this vegetation, and that supports our life also. So we have to understand that how close the Lord is to us. So he says, I bless the soil with my powers, okay? And he says, becoming the moon, Soma is another name for moon, I give the very rasatmaka, the very essence to all the plants, sarva pushnami. So plants also get their nourishment through the moonlight also, they are nourished and they therefore flourish also. So again, all vegetables, all fruits, all grains, etc. are nourished by the, not only by the sunlight in the daytime, but by the very moonlight in the night time. So you can see the word here, aushadam. There's a word called aushadam, which was earlier mentioned in chapter 9, verse 16. Now, very interestingly, all the food that we consume is called aushadam. Aushadam means herbs or medicine. So actually, if you go back to ancient times, vegetables and fruits were called medicine because they were consumed for three purposes. Number one, to heal us from all kinds of afflictions that we are facing. So whenever we have any problem in our body, we consume certain types of fruits or vegetables that fight all these afflictions. Example, like when they had scurvy, so they say what? Consume what? Oranges that will fight. Vitamin C will help to fight scurvy. So it's actually food is to be taken as a form of medicine actually. So one is to cure us of afflictions. Number two, it is also called medicine because it nourishes our body, it builds up healthy bones, etc. And three, it protects our body from future ailments also. See, nowadays, Western medicine also is saying eat turmeric, eat ghee. They are saying all these are good. Eat garlic, eat onions. But those days, they looked down upon all this. But today, we find that actually all these are very beneficial to our body. And even they talk about natural oils like olive oil, etc. So all that we have been consuming before also. Okay. So Krishna says, through my powers in the sun and the moon, I bless all the soil that sustains all the life on this earth. Now, you says, Bhagwan, that is still, I cannot understand. It's still far away. Are you still more nearer to me? Yes. See verse number 14. So first he says, I'm so far away, the sun and the moon. Then he says, I bless the soil. Now he comes even more nearer to us now. So he says what? Bhutva, by becoming, very interesting word used here, Vaishvanaraha. Vaishvanaraha is the name of the fire which is called a digestive fire in us, is in us. That fire which digests our food is called a Vaishvanara fire. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, it is mentioned this fire that is within man and digests the food that is eaten is called Vaishvanara fire. So that particular fire is given a particular name also. So now just think about it. God is now present where? Right in us as the digestive fire. So now think one more step further. When you eat food, who are you offering it to? Huh? So what type of food should you be putting now in your body now? So what type of food is that? Vegetarian or sattvic food. Okay. The list of sattvic food is given in chapter 17. Okay. All the sattvic food is mentioned there. So that means your body is a temple where God is there and present in the temple of your body. So you should be very careful what you offer. So what is tamasic food? In chapter 17, God mentions sattvic food, rajasic food, and tamasic food. What is tamasic food? One of the description given for tamasic food is amedium. What is amedium? Amedium means food that is not fit for sacrifice. Meaning what? Food that you would not put in your altar to offer at your altar, that food you should not put in your body. So just saying that example, you would not put some chicken or mutton on the altar, isn't it? You would put fruits and so forth. So he's saying what you offer to God at the altar, and that God is within you, you should be careful what you are putting in. Of course, it's not easy. I know there's some non-vegetarians here won't agree, but that's okay. It has got to be a process. You cannot just go overnight and become a vegetarian. It's got to go through a process. So what is telling us here? I am within you. I'm so near and close to you. I am the digestive fire that is in your body also. Okay. So that's why also when before we eat also we say the food prayer, because we're offering the food to that, the God which resides in our body. And there are two food prayers. You all know that in the Bhagavad Gita, right? How many of you know about it? Food prayer. You know in the Bhagavad Gita? So the first food prayer is found in chapter 4. Chapter 4. What is that verse number? Verse 24, is it? Okay, verse 24. Okay, this is the first food prayer, chapter 4, verse 24. So before we eat, we can chant this verse. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmaknau brahmanahutam brahmevatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. And the second food prayer is found in today's verse, which we are going to discuss, chapter 15, verse number 14, which is this verse which we are reading now. Okay? Aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dehamashrita pranapana samayukta pachamyanam chaturvidam. So the Lord says, I am the Vaishvanara fire, which is the digestive fire, which is residing where? In you. Ashrita, residing in Deham, in the body of what? Only do you reside in the body of sages and saints? No. Praninam, of all the creatures. Whether there are animals or insects, whether they are saints or sinners, I reside in everyone's body to help them digest the food. I am that digestive fire. Aham. I reside in the bodies of all. And fire alone cannot digest food. With fire, you need what? Prana and apana, which is the incoming and outgoing breath. So the Lord says, Samyukta, not only I am the digestive fire in the body, but I am also in association with prana and apana. Prana is exhalation, apana is inhalation. So the fire, what you call, gives combustion to the fire, the incoming air, outgoing air, provides the combustion to the fire, and Lord says, therefore, I pachami, I will digest what? Annam. Whatever food you consume, the fire and the air will help to digest that food. And here he mentions chaturvidam. There are 4 kinds of food that we all eat. So chaturvidam here does not mean burgers, chicken, and all that kind of thing. Fourfold foods. What are the fourfold foods? I sent you all the notes today. The first type of food is called Bhaksyam. So Bhaksyam means any type of food which needs to be masticated, which you have to bite and chew, like vegetables, rice, etc. Okay. Second type of food is called Bhojyam. Bhojyam means liquid, that which you directly swallow, like milk, juices, coffee, tea, etc. Third is called Lehyam. Lehyam, which is licked like honey, example, or salt, we lick it. So that is the third type of food. And fourth type of food is called Coksiyam, which is crushed and sucked like sugarcane, or sugarcane we directly crush and we suck in the juices and all that, or mango juice, etc. So to digest this, the fire and the air is required, and therefore the Lord says the 4 type of foods you consume, I will digest for you and help you to carry to all the different parts of the body also. So, as I say, that's why like putting food into our mouth, into the digestive fire, is equivalent to when we do the Havan Yajna, the fire ceremony. So the fire is there. The fire represents that supreme being. The grains we offer into the fire are the grains we are offering to the supreme being. And therefore, when we offer, we always chant Swaha. Okay? And do you know what Swaha means? When you offer the grains or whatever ghee or whatever you put in the fire, we chant Swaha. What does Swaha mean? So, actually, one meaning is Swa means my own self. The word Ha comes from the word Hanam. So, Swa Hanam means to kill the self. So, what are you offering to the Lord, and what is it that you want to kill? Your ego. You're offering to the Lord and saying, may you please help me destroy my ego, or whatever impurities you have in you. Okay. And the other thing is Agni Devata, which is the fire. The wife of Agni Devata is called Swaha also. So we are actually honoring both also, the wife and the fire also, Agni Devata. So now Bhagwan has told us, I'm so close to you. So you understand, even when you're eating and the digestive fires are working, that is the presence of the Lord within you. So we will stop here now, and we will come back next week to carry on with verse number 15, where he will summarize that he is somehow even more closer than that also. What else does he do when he exists in our body? Okay. So we'll end with the prayer. Vasudeva sutam devam kansa chanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Thank you. Hari Om. Oh yeah, sorry. Next week there's no class. I forgot. We have the meditation program in the morning, so we'll resume class the following Saturday. Okay. Thanks.